And now it's time for my last word on Israel's ham-handed response to the protests at the Gaza border that have already resulted in dozens of Palestinians killed and nearly 1,000 wounded. Israel can explain until the cows come home that what began as a popular grassroots action was hijacked by Hamas, and that well-trained terror squads are using innocents as human shields in attempts to penetrate the border. Israel can also explain it has every right to defend its sovereignty, that it's using precision sniper fire rather than tank rounds or gunships to target violent instigators, and that no other army in the world would exercise half its restraint when confronted with such furious mobs. And all that may be true, but irrelevant. Images of unarmed demonstrators confronting the region's mightiest army have put the misery of Gaza back in the news. Each rioter resourceful enough to deliver firebombs by kite, as we saw earlier in the program, or to use mirrors to blind Israeli sharpshooters inspires the imagination. Each time the sea breeze from the coastal strip blows Israeli-fired tear gas back into IDF ranks, it amplifies the human tendency to back the underdog. In the court of public opinion, it's not Hamas to blame for cynically exploiting its people by investing what little they have in warfare rather than welfare, but Israel. With each casualty leading up to next month's Palestinian Nakba, or catastrophe, momentum builds for an explosion that could engulf the West Bank, perhaps even Jordan. The sad and unforgivable thing is that much of this madness could have been prevented had Israel's defense establishment not failed miserably in its mission to equip the IDF with the non-lethal means of containing the masses. The nightmare scenario of tens of thousands of unarmed men, women, and children breaching Israeli borders in their march toward Jerusalem is well known, yet largely ignored by generations of generals, defense ministry officials, and industry execs here who favor kinetic responses to innovative, less-than-lethal means of crowd control. I've been covering defense in Israel here for 30 years and have heard 3 decades worth of excuses as to why, with the exception of locally developed gravel throwing and liquid stink machines, Israel still relies on rubber bullets and tear gas to deter and disperse demonstrators. A top IDF commander told me the Defense Ministry is now redoubling efforts to develop at home and procure abroad more effective, less-than-lethal means for dealing with this threat. And it's about time. A startup nation that can put satellites in space and intercept rockets in mere seconds after launch should be able to defend its borders from the unarmed masses without committing atrocities or sparking wider war. And that's my last word.